ScoonTv family. It's the weekly live stream. We got a lot to talk about tonight. The Carmelo Anthony case, Knicks mania, and Richard Child's acquittal. And let's not forget Uncle Jimmy Dodds passed away this Sunday, killed by a stray bullet in the front of his house. I'll just wait for everybody to join, and let's talk about it. Welcome, ScoonTv family. News, what's up, homie? Good to see you. Much too late for goodbyes. Cojones, what's up with you? Oh yeah, man. Had a conversation with my wife, and Scoon's World will be back. David Henry, what's up, brother? Yes, cojones, R.I.P. to Uncle Jimmy. You know, I'm waiting for Whitlock to come on here. The wise one, whatever his anonymous handle is. And I want to talk about some things, because I watched a good bit of Whitlock's tribute to Uncle Jimmy. And I would like to add some context to something, because Jimmy's not here to speak for himself, you know. There's some things that I think need to be said about what was said. What's up, Dave? You had a diaper business? Oh, man, it's going good. I'm doing what I do. I got to get in the habit of washing my hands more. What's up, Darnita? How you doing? Yeah. I got this Julian Lennon song playing in memory of Jimmy Dodds Sr., Uncle Jim. You know, I spoke to Jim on May 29th. And he had called me to speak about, give my take on Charleston White. Because he know I did an interview with Charleston White. And, you know, a lot of times people don't know what to make of Charleston White, you know. And one thing I've figured out from being in this media space is that, you know, rarely can people be their authentic self and be successful in this media space. And most people, they craft like a character, a caricature or whatever, and it wins. And they stay on script with that. And I don't want to single anybody out, because I think if there's anybody who's very successful at this shit, that's what they're doing. They figured out what it is, you know? They figured out what works for them. What's up, Indy? Your granddaughter, huh? Look, look. Listen, congratulations, first of all. I remember you was telling me your daughter got married. Yeah, man, that's good to see, man. You know, we need some new minds, some new blood out here. You know, too much people just taking up space. We got to bring in a new team and cultivate them properly. the youth, the future. The wise mind, oh, there he is. What's up? Tonight is going to be a hard show because of the tragic news. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. You know, wise mind, wink, wink. I watched, you tagged me with the Whitlock post, and Whitlock did something to celebrate Jimmy's life. And it was, well, I can't say it was bad, but there was something in that post that was very revealing. Whitlock talked about an Italian guy who owned a strip club in Kansas City, an older guy. And Whitlock said he and the guy was really good friends. And the guy said the problem with black people is they let pride get in the way of them being successful. And Whitlock used that anecdote to kind of summarize what happened with him and Jimmy. And I'm not going to say Whitlock was wrong, but in my very last conversation with Jimmy, which was on May 29th, in the morning, because he had called me on May 28th, and I didn't get back to him until Friday morning. I had a 8:30 appointment. And I like to talk when I'm in the car. When I'm not in the car, I don't really be on the phone too much. So anyway, we were talking about Charleston White, and Jimmy shared something with me, and I have to share this with you all because he's not here to speak on what was said about him, right? And by the way, Jimmy and I spoke maybe once a month, and I'm not gonna lie, he initiated the calls, but I was always there for him. If I couldn't pick up right away, I'd get back to him. And it was just, to me, I felt like he was trying to reconcile the turns in his life because of his connection with Whitlock. And then when it ended, it was almost kind of like, and I'm saying this respectfully, like a Cinderella situation, right? Here's this guy, he's in the sheriff's department. I think he was working in the jails or what have you. He's just a very regular, average black man doing regular, average things. And he gets an opportunity to be on TV, interact with a lot of celebrities and what have you, famous, rich people. And he's living out there making more money than he's ever made. And before you know it, it's over. And Whitlock was the one that brought him into that world, to his credit. But sometimes it's unfair to take people to heights that they can't get to on their own organically and then show them the door. Be like, all right, this is it. So speaking on what Whitlock said today, right? 586 Sports, what's up? Anthony Evelyn, what's up? Well, speaking on what he said today about pride and what the Italian man who owned a strip club told him, Whitlock seemed to agree with him that, that is what gets in the way of a lot of black success, our pride. And when you think about that, that explains so much of what Whitlock does. If any of you think for a minute that he is not aware of how what he's doing is being perceived, you're crazy. Whitlock is not a dumb guy, man. What he is a man that's come to terms with this is how he's going to carve his little niche in life. And he's not going to let his pride get in the way. And then when you set that standard for yourself, you bring other people into the equation and you expect that to be their standard, because shit, if you could get out here and tap dance and skin and grin, who the hell are they to think that they can't, right? And Jimmy told me this specifically on the 29th, the last conversation we had. This is not his words, I'm going to paraphrase. He said that before he went to California, He had quit his job and everything, ready to make the move, like it was secured. But before he got there, he received a, a breakdown of what he was going to be doing. And there were these different characters and roles he had to play. And he said he didn't really agree with that. He didn't really agree with it, but what could he do? He had already quit his job. So he went out there and he tried to make the best of that situation. Now, me and Jimmy never met personally, but we've had dozens of phone calls, conversations, because I was almost like his therapist, I believe, because I would listen to him, and I think he valued my opinion, you know. And if I'm being honest, the role he played on Speak for Yourself and Fearless was not one that I was comfortable watching, because I know what it is, and Whitlock knows what it is, but Whitlock also understands that that's what he has to do to get in the spaces he's in. Whitlock will never say that. He'll talk about black culture, he'll talk about everything, but he wouldn't talk about the expectations that are placed on black people to penetrate spaces of power and influence, right? You cannot come across as a thinker. I would never make it in that world. Maybe the man is right. Maybe it's not because I got too much pride. It's because what they offer don't mean that much to me. You understand what I'm saying? And Jimmy, after quitting his job, he didn't like what happened. He was telling me about the wardrobes. They had a wardrobe department, and it was a script. And he didn't use the word caricature, but I knew exactly what he meant. And to be honest with you, man, I never watched an episode of Fearless, ever. I would see clips come across the timeline, like somebody would tag me, and I'd look at it. And if I'm really being honest, and that's not a shot at Whitlock, I don't watch anybody's content. I just don't. I not because it's not good. I just have too much stuff to do. And also, I'm very protective of my own thoughts, right? Because I'm someone who's formulating ideas and presenting it to the public, I kind of guard myself to make sure that my thoughts, they're organically my own. That's why I stopped reading books and everything. I've read a lot of books, but sometimes you get so immersed in someone else's thought processes that you start, emulating it. And I want my thoughts to be organically my own. So I give myself the space to do that because I'm someone who gets in front of people and talk. I don't want to be like I'm regurgitating somebody else's ideas, right? So again, when it comes to Uncle Jim, he told me just on the 29th that he was 64 years old. So he's only a few years older than me, And when I heard that he died violently today, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is it, over a woman? Like, what could happen to him? What could he have done? You know what I mean? Like, because, forgive me, anytime I hear someone gets murdered, my first thought is always, what did they do? Not saying they were in the wrong, but like, people don't just get murdered. Somebody kill you, you got an enemy, an adversary, something, right? That's my logic in thinking. I know of over 30 people that I've interacted with personally since the 80s that have been murdered. And I can tell you, not that it was their fault, but I understand how that could happen with them, right? Turns out, based on what Whitlock said today, Jim just got in a car in front of his house to go to the store for his son. and got hit with a stray bullet in the back of his head. This is what Whitlock said on his show today, by the way. I haven't confirmed this. I couldn't even find any stories in Kansas City, Missouri, or Kansas City, Kansas, that would mention Jimmy Dodds Sr. There was a story about two young guys, one 18 and one 24, that got killed over the weekend, but nothing about Jimmy Dodds, you know? And it's sad because his son, I knew he had a disability. I didn't know what it was until today from Whitlock. His son had sickle cell, and I believe Jim left out the house to go to the store for his son to get him something to alleviate the pain, you know, or whatever. And he just got shot like that. So, you know, figuratively, the bullet had his name on it, and it was just his time. So that there are things that we don't understand, but they just happen, right? And I just want to say R.I.P. to Jim. I think Jim was a simple guy, and I mean that in a good way. He was a simple guy, but he had, you know, great insights on complicated topics in his simplicity. I think he had no intention of being a court jester, a minstrel, if you will, you know. But economically, after quitting his job, what was his options? Starting over? Well, we see what starting over got him. It got him in the hood where people are shooting on the block and you catch a stray. And these things happen all the time in the hood, by the way. Maybe not while you're in your car, but they go through your windows and people get hit. Babies, toddlers get hit and killed. This is the reality of living in certain demographic neighborhoods. And when you start over at 64 years old, who really got time for that shit, man? But you got to do what you got to do. And I hate, you know what, something else I got to say, in case Whitlock is watching. Jim spoke about Whitlock a lot to me, but Jim would only go but so far. I think even 586 Sports, what's up? Richard Hunter, what's happening? Born Savage, what's up, bro? I think even in his, you know, in his frustration with Whitlock, he wasn't going to throw him under the bus. Yes, he vented and voiced things about, you know, how he was treated and all that. But trust and believe, man, there's so many things that man knew that he didn't share with me. And I wasn't digging, but like I said, when he called, I would just listen. And I would kind of like, you know, help him flush things out. He wanted to do a podcast with me because he was doing one with a guy named Chris Foley, who was a producer at Fearless, and he left because of how Whitlock was treating him. And Foley died of cancer. It's almost like there's a curse on that show or something. Yes, Atlas, Jim passed away. Yep. Let me see who's in here. What's up, Rich? What's good? John C. Baldwin. What's up, my man? Dusko. Tyrese. I think you're new here. Welcome. Brian Singleton. Yes, his role made you uncomfortable too, yeah? Yeah, man. That's why I called Fearless. I said it was like Amos and Andy over there. Because all the black people were like, you know, they might as well have been bugging their eyes and shit, man. And I couldn't watch it. And I was so glad. But see, I saw it coming. That's why I did not go over there. That's why I started up ScoonTv. And again, I'm not, yo man, Whitlock's not the only one. Every last one of these motherfuckers, white, black, whatever you want to call them, that get in front of that camera every day on these podcasts and all these other things and talking, they all playing a role. None of them could be authentically themselves. Cannot. Because if you do that, you're going to step on a third rail somewhere. And you have to know where the third rails are, and you avoid them. And that's what they all do. That's not a Whitlock thing. That's all of them. And that's why when you see a Candace Owens or whoever else talking about Israel and blah, 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 just know that they were given the green light to do that. Don't you think you could do it too now? Mumin, assalamu alaikum. Whitlock pretty much confirmed this on the show that yes, that he wanted Jimmy to be the court jester. Yes. And it's so ironic. I was watching it, and it just my conversation with Jimmy on the 29th was playing in my head that Jimmy was explaining this to me. I think he felt like he needed to explain this to me. He wanted me to understand that he wasn't really that guy. You know? Because I got my principles, man. I've touched a little bit of money, right? A little, not a lot. I've been doing it since I was a kid. A little kid, man. When I say little kid, literally, I mean a little fucking kid. 11 years old. Saved my paper route money. Took the bus and 2 trains to Chinatown to buy fireworks and ended up buying fireworks in Little Italy next door and started making money hustling in the street at 11 years old in the summer of 1976. And I never left. I just kept graduating and learning the art of negotiating and wheeling and dealing and all of that, right? So I don't know what it's like to not know how to rely on yourself. And I think that is the norm for a lot of people. This is why they go postal when they get fired. You know, like, I've been figuring things out. I'm not saying that my way is better than anybody's. My way is tough, man. Like, so many things could have happened to me. But what did happen is that I believe in my ability to make shit shake, man. Because that's all I've ever done. Think about it. I'm 61 now, and I was 11 in the summer of 1976. That's 50 years ago. And I've been working it out ever since. Got my first job when I was 34 and quit when I was 36. All I've ever known how to do is make things happen for myself. So I don't feel pressure. That tactic wouldn't have worked on me, but I understand how it would work on somebody else. Because when you work for the sheriff's department for I don't know how many years Jimmy did it or whatever, and you did a job before that. And again, I am not talking down on employment. I think everybody should experience it. But it gets to the point where that's how you see yourself surviving in life. I need a job. If you don't like your job, you be like, you know what, man, I'm job hunting right now. I never say I'm job hunting. I say I'm hunting. And that's how it goes. What we got here? We never know when it's time to go correct. I just want to stay ready so I don't have to get ready. Look, man, this is why I work the way I do. I'm not chasing money. I do all I can while I can. Because you never know when it's over, man. You know? And I'm always cognizant of my mortality. So I'm always setting things up in the event of my untimely demise. And you know what else? When I was younger, I was always setting things up in the event of my incarceration. And it never came. And I'm setting all these things up in the event of my untimely demise. And if it's anything like what happened when I was younger, I might probably get past 90 years old or something. I don't know. I don't take anything for granted though. But like you said, if you get ready, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Hey, Sadio, what's up? Agree. A local radio guy is now national with Outkick. Every sports. Take Dan Katich, the Kitch, makes is racial, all for the dollar. This is what they do. None of them are authentic. That's why I don't really get too hard on any of them. Stephen A. Smith, to me, he's just like the black Dick Vitale. He saw Dickie V. A lot of y'all won't remember Dickie V. He took Dickie V's spiel, this old animated, buffoonish type of delivery, and he's getting, I think ESPN was paying him $11 million a year or something. You know, shit. Was Jimmy offered that position to provide a cover for Jason? I don't know. You know, from what Jason said today, he said that Jimmy would call in to his radio show, and he was Jimmy the Freak or something like that. He was a DJ. Jimmy's been like a jack of all trades type of guy. He's a people person, right? So he learns to, you know, how he learns how to engage people in small talk and connect with them through his humor, you know, and all of that, right? And that's what Whitlock saw. In other words, Jimmy had a certain type of charisma for a certain crowd that Whitlock didn't have. And again, man, this is not a bash Whitlock episode. I understand Whitlock. Whitlock knows who he is. He knows what's expected of him. The difference between me and him is that he's willing to do it. I'm not. I don't care how much fucking money they put on the table. Fuck them and their money. And that's not my pride. That's my principles. Was Jimmy offered that been a hustler since I was 11? Correct, David. Seems a bit calculated, especially in that entertainment realm. Man, everything in that realm is calculated. Their awards, you can't believe anything. It's sometimes, man, the way how the world seems, it's like everything is scripted. Maybe not literally in that way, but it's kind of it's kind of orchestrated, where the outcome may not be specific, but generally it's staged to go in a certain direction. I get that Whitlock and Uncle Jimmy relationship wasn't the best towards the end, but I think it's wrong to segue this into dumping on Whitlock. I'm not dumping on Whitlock at all. I just feel like what Whitlock said about Jimmy and his pride, Jimmy can't speak to that. And I just literally had a conversation with Jimmy about him being pressured into playing the kind of characters Whitlock is talking about. His pride got in the way of. I do agree with Whitlock that if Jimmy wanted to talk about sports with him on the same footing, I don't think that would have worked. Because if Whitlock wants somebody to talk about sports with, he's going to get somebody who actually works in that arena, right? With the credentials to make not that Jimmy didn't know anything about sports, but you're dealing with the public, right? They want to hear former ESPN analysts or something like that. This is why Whitlock works with Steve Kim. Steve Kim is a sports writer. He's been on the boxing beat, and he's done other things in sports. So Whitlock can discuss sports with Steve Kim. But how would he explain to his audience why he's discussing sports with Uncle Jim? I think that's where the simplicity in Jim led him astray. Because at no point did he ask himself, why is this guy on TV, on Fox? What does he need me for? Because at that point, Jim should have realized that he doesn't need you to come here and discuss sports. He got former athletes, professional athletes, and everything there to do that with him. Not that they know anything more than Uncle Jim, but they got the credentials, man. And that should mean something when you're a network and you're trying to get people to buy into what you're selling. You know, and that's where sometimes humility has to come into place. Like, I know that I know more about certain things than some people, but they are more accomplished in that field. So people are going to listen to them more than they listen to me. And I'm not, what am I going to do? Spend the whole time trying to undermine their credibility? Nah, man, fuck it, let them have it. Yes, they did stop working 3 or 4 years ago. We got to make this about Jimmy. Oh, yeah, we are. Whitlock didn't make it about Jimmy alone. I watched half of what Whitlock talked about, heard about Derek Chauvin, YNs, and none of that has anything to do with Jimmy. But anyway, I digress. What's up, Glasgow? Oh, man, you being a gentleman, huh? Chivalry lives. I hear that. They still need us. Absolutely. It's all scripted reality, bro. Yeah, this is what I get. And I'm not willing to play that game and mislead people and exploit them. I'm not saying that, I haven't done certain things in the past, right? Because I have. Because I have, man. But as you know better, you do better. And hopefully you have better options. There's no, I dread the day that my back is to the wall. Because I would not just lay down and die. You understand? And the things that were in me, they're still there. They didn't go anywhere. Not at all. I simply know that I'm trying to be a better person, the better version of myself all the time. Yeah. Do I think about punishing people? Yeah, absolutely. If you've been punishing people for a large portion of your life, it almost becomes a default setting, right? But it takes restraint and discipline and maturity to understand that, listen, you're not a kid anymore. You got to move a certain way, Yeah. And that's what I try to do. Look, I stay with my family, man. My wife, my kid, and focus on my businesses and my health. That's it. That is it. That's my recreation. That's everything. Everything that I do, it's either going to be for self-improvement or with my family. Yeah. I don't really have time for anything else. You heard what I said earlier. I don't even talk on the phone unless I'm in the car. Like, I'm in the house, I'm not on the phone with anybody unless it's like an emergency, like involving some kind of business that I'm dealing with, and that's going to be brief, But yeah, I even talk to my mom when I'm in the car driving. Like, yo, for real, like, I'm home. I just want to be calm and focus on my household. It's clear as day. We have all the evidence to make it in this entertainment or social media market. You have to wear a mask. Correct, cojones. The powers that be will not get behind a person that's authentically themselves. Yeah, because you might be pushing something that's counter to what's desired. Even when they talk that radical anti-white shit or anti-black shit or whatever, there's a certain percentage of that's desired to be out there. It's called, divide and conquer, keeping people at odds and what have you. Yeah. What's the story with this Carmelo kid? Was it a hot-headed kid that made a mistake or something else? Yo, man. Yeah, let's talk about Carmelo Anthony. Um, I always thought he was going to get convicted, right? Um, I think the Austin Metcalf kid, he he might have been a little bit of a bully. He had a little size on him, definitely size to Carmelo, and I'm unclear, but the initial report said he pushed Carmelo because Carmelo said, "Touch me again." Now Carmelo on his side, right? I think I think Carmelo went over there anticipating the problem. I can't prove that, but that's what I think. I know how young men are. Having a weapon makes you feel powerful, like you can't lose. And then when you got a weapon, you put yourself in situations where the weapon gives you the advantage. And I believe that's what it was. That sitting under the tent, where was your friends that you came to the track meet with? Why weren't you sitting with them wherever they were sitting? Sitting with the people from your team, from your school. Like, why are you over here, you know? And it seems like it was a subtle provocation on his part. And the boy Austin, being the big boy that he is, probably looked at like a leader, like an alpha on his side. You know, Carmelo threw down the gauntlet, he picked it up. That's and see, and people are making this like racial, and I'm not sure that it is. I think it's just a lot of young men, a lot of like a lack of impulse control, and things got out of hand. This has been going on forever. Young men, their testosterone is raging, and they don't have the maturity to manage that kind of aggressive urging, because testosterone is the source of aggression. A big contributor to it. Let me say that. So yeah, I think Austin and his brother approached Carmelo. I think Carmelo probably felt threatened, and he was talking that talk and went in his bag and got the knife and stabbed the boy. Now, let me say this. 2 days ago, I saw something like last week, excuse me. I saw something from Charleston White on Instagram, and Charleston White said that he talked to Carmelo's father, and that Carmelo didn't bring a knife, and that there's more to the story, and this, that, the third. I don't know, man. To be honest with you, when I see these stories now, I don't even really follow them, because no matter what happens, right? People try to make these incidents like national issues, and most of them are just very, very local issues. Regardless of how you see it, there's something going on locally, and that's the manifestation of whatever's going on in that area. But you look today after Carmelo was found guilty, and there's all these black women out there crying and boo-hooing and falling out, and I don't know what to make of any of it. He stabbed somebody. They're dead. Did they push him? Yes. But what do you want? Do you want a man to walk free? Let's remove race out of this. These were just two kids of no race. One pushes the other. The pushed kid stabs the other one to death. Do you let him go free? And it happens on school property during the track meet. I mean, that's why I thought he was going to go to prison. I was like, he kind of went too far, you know. And again, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and turning it into this big racial. I don't know if that worked to their advantage. They said, I don't know how true it is, that they raised about $600,000 from their GoFundMe, but they still used a legal aid attorney. I don't know, man. All I know is that there was a lot of bad choices made that day on both sides, and nobody should have ended up dead. Nobody, you know. And that's just what it is. It's even like with the Richard Child case, the young kid, Cyrus, whatever his name is respectfully. They're arguing about whether he stole water, whether he didn't. You know, some people say he put the water in his pocket, then he put it back, and then he ran. Like, why are you running? They showed pictures of him with a gun. I'm like, is that real? Because there's so much like Photoshop, AI stuff out there. Turns out that the gun that he had in the Facebook picture was the same gun they found near him after he got shot. I wasn't there. They said he got shot in the back. He was running. Again, I don't know. What I know is that we got to make sure that these kids know that guns aren't toys. A gun will get you killed. Yeah, they said that man shot him in the back. I saw that. You know, Darnita, I told a story on Twitter about my son. See, we got to talk to our sons, right? We got to talk to our kids, period, and get them the rules. You know, my son came to live with me in 2004. That's when he came to live with me. And he was 13 years old at the time. And he started high school. What's up, George? And he started high school. And it just turns out that his best friend, he clicked with a kid in the neighborhood who was white. The kid's mother was German, and she worked for Glock in Georgia, right? So him and the kid was hanging out. I'm not a racist. I don't care. That's his best friend. I don't give him like, hey, listen, well, you can't find black friends. You know, I don't have those conversations, right? I kind of let things organically go the way they go. So one day I get a call, and it's the police. It's the local police. And they asking me about my son and this, that, the other. And they had him. They detained him and his friend. Because the two of them, a black kid and a white kid, they were inside a retail store, walking distance from where we live, a neighborhood spot, like with clothes, sell like urban bullshit clothes, because it's off the beaten path in a strip mall. You know, who knows what was going on in there. But the proprietor notified police that there was two suspicious kids in the store. Keep in mind, at the time, my son was maybe 14. Him and his friend were like 14 years old because their birthdays are like 2 weeks apart. And the police came, searched them, and they had these realistic BB guns on them. Now, I don't buy stuff like that for my son, you know? Definitely at 14 years old. Why? Because I already understand what's going to happen. The potential of what can happen, I should say. The cops found the guns on them. They didn't break any laws, but the cops wanted to put some fire to their ass and call their parents. And I came and I showed up. and his friend was there with his mom already. You know, she got there real quick. She gonna bail her boy out, you know. I got there as soon as I can, a little bit after, not long. And when I looked at the guns on the trunk of the squad car, my reflex was to backhand the shit out of my son. And I backhanded him because when I looked at it, I said, yo, this guy could have got himself killed. It's, you know, and again, no offense to anyone. His friend may be white, but he's not white. For all I know, the only reason they got detained and the calls were made and everything is because he was with his white friend. Because if it was two black kids, I don't know how it would have went. And I'm not trying to find out. And I'm not someone who harps on race. But I am very aware of all of it. So when I hear these cases about Cyrus and Carmelo and all of that, their parents failed them. Their parents failed them. You know, when I backhanded my son, there was a tall white cop. There was about 5 or 6 cops there. I think the white cop was the sergeant. He was a big dude. He was bigger than me. And man, they turned away and looked because I didn't even think that I actually assaulted my son in front of them. They could have put me in handcuffs. But they're so accustomed to people showing up and arguing with them, taking the kid's side, they was going to let that one slide. And they did. And I talked to my son after, and I explained to him, like, yo, man, do you see what you did? You see the position you put me in? Do you know that was the first time I ever put my hand on my son? And now that I'm thinking about it, that was the last time. Yeah. But to me, it was that critical that I had to make an impression on him to not play with things like that, not take life so lightly. And I did give him the explanation about the difference between him and his friend. That's your friend, man, but life is not going to challenge him the way it's going to challenge you. And you need to know that right now. And that's what I did. And when I see these young dudes, again, I'm not blaming any of them saying they belong in prison. No, I just think it's unfortunate that their parents have all of this, animosity towards institutional racism after the fact. When you need to tell them, I mean, Asians, let's talk about Asians, Richard Chow and them. You know what was going on with Richard Chow. I saw where he had shot like multiple people. Like he's a shooter. People in the neighborhood were supposed to know who he was, not to play with him. And if you don't like him, don't go in his store. Because that's the other thing. We try to leverage, and when I say we, I'm generalizing here, right? I'm not speaking on them. I'm saying we, I'm including myself. We fail to recognize where we lack leverage in a lot of situations. It's like we're always, it's like the tail always trying to wag the dog. You see what I'm saying? It's this man's store. If he wants to be a jerk, you simply stop going to his store. Don't go there and steal. I'm not saying the kid was stealing. I don't know that. Don't go in his store at all. Go somewhere different. Instead, what will happen is we'll go in the store, argue with them while we give them our money about how unfair they are. Think about the rationale behind something like that. Why would you spend your money with somebody that doesn't want you there? You know, why? Why would you spend your money? People are entitled to be racist if they want to be. They are. They don't have to like anybody. They're entitled to be homophobic, all of that. But what that means is if they're serving the public have the right not to do business with them. Exercise that right. Too many parents want to be their kids' friends. Us as fathers, it's our duty to train. Correct, cojones. That's what type of time I'm on. You know? Yeah, man, when I saw those guns, cojones, all I saw was my son's life. That's why I reacted like that. I was like, yo, this kid is just tripping. Walking around with this shit in his waist concealed. After the fact, it'll be a justifiable homicide. That's how the shit works, man. But yeah, you know, if you don't like somebody, you don't like the Asians that's selling hair products, blah, blah, blah. Stop buying them damn wavy weaves and the Brazilians and Malaysians and all that from. Let them go out of business. See, and that's the thing. You can't complain about people and do business with them. You gotta make up your mind. Either you okay with being treated like shit or you're not. You know, you wanna try to boss them around and tell them how to run their business and run their towns and run this, man, to hell with all of them. They need your money. You can take it somewhere else. But you know, when you're lazy and you don't want to go a couple extra blocks or whatever to get something, and convenience is your weakness, well, yeah, that's what happens. You'd rather just go in their store and complain about them all the time. For sure. Yeah, but that's what's up. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is how about them Knicks, man? My theme song today was going to be, they're playing basketball. We love that basketball. Now, I remember when the Knicks won in 73. You know, I do. I was a big Knicks fan in 94. And I never forgave Patrick Ewing for that finger roll. In fact, I taunted him about it, I don't know, a few years ago when he was at the Capital One Arena. I think he was an assistant coach with the Heat or something. And he was on the floor before the game, and I was going off on him, you know. No, it won't be Spurs in 7. Nick gonna blow them out tomorrow night, mark my word. Game 5 in San Antonio is up in the air. Either way. But if it comes back to New York for Game 6, forget about it. It's going to be a rout. You see what those New York fans did to the Spurs, the people wearing Spurs jerseys. Boy, they haven't been watching. They haven't been watching, right? So I've been a Knicks fan for a long time. And what I'm seeing now, I've never seen anything like it. Not for any team in New York. And New York got some winners. The Mets with Doc Gooden and Darryl Strawberry and all the Yankees and all of that. We've had Subway Series. We've had the Giants with LT. You name it. We stay winning. I've never seen anything like what's going on now. Never. And that's a lot of energy, man. All it takes, I'm telling you, everybody's talking about Brunson. Brunson is cool, man, but not to take nothing away from him. He's more than cool. Brunson is great. He's a pressure point guard, right? He handles pressure well. However, it's obvious that Castle, Fox, and what's that boy, Harper, they got quicker feet than him. They can't. He can't get around them quick enough. He got to give the book. Look how they trap the ball. They play better defense on the Knicks guards than the Knicks play on their guards, right? The only one on the Knicks team who can get past them is Alvarado. And for that reason, I think he should start tomorrow. Not that he's taking Brunson. Brunson's a better guard. But we can't afford Brunson getting 2 quick fouls. But the Knicks had 4 fouls in the first 3 minutes? Oh, they're getting a lot of help from the refs too, man. Oh man, pressure. Pressure was when they took them 2 games in San Antonio, Williams. You know what I mean? Yeah, look. And we anti-Knicks in the city. I have to root for the Frenchmen. Yeah, I know, because they did Detroit a little dirty, didn't they? Yeah, I get it. They doing everybody dirty. Shoot. I don't know. Spike Lee's the most authentic Knicks fan. He stayed through. Yes, he did. All the fake celebrities who don't even live in New York City or care about the Knicks are bad luck. I think they will win the finals. Yeah, close out in San Antonio in Game 5. That's what I'm afraid will happen. Because I want them to close out in New York. Yeah, I think the Knicks, I want them to close out in New York. Shit, I'm going to be there tomorrow night. I got to be there. I was hoping they swept them. I wanted to, look, I was trying to figure out what night I'm going. Was I going for Game 4 or Game 6? After they took the 2 games in San Antonio, I shifted my arrangements from Game 6 to Game 4. I'll be there tomorrow. If it come back for Game 6, I'll mess around and be there right back. I'll be right back there for sure. It's to me, it's a hell of a time, man, sports-wise. And I don't get excited about sports. You know? Woo! Wait a minute. Breaking news. Bill Blass just said Carmelo got 35 years. Wowzers. Damn, Carmelo. Got a lot to think about. Yeah, I don't know. We're going to get back to basketball in a second, but I don't know if Texas prisons is still what they say. First of all of them prisons in the South seem like some real plantation type shit to me. When I look at Angola and Louisiana, woo, man. If you didn't have slave mentality when you went in, you'll have it when you come out of them places. That's bad for a 17-year-old. And I don't know how old he is now, and he's a trophy. He's a trophy. Any one of those white supremacist groups, we want to get on him for sure. That's right. We want them to close out, period. Beggars can't be choosers. I heard that, William. Look. Yes, Sadia, that's some hard time. Yeah, I just keep looking at the kid's face, man. Like, damn. I mean, that's the hand life dealt him, you know. I'm not. Damn. I just wish it wasn't that way for him, you know. Not that I wish he got away with murder, but I just wish things had played out differently. Estevan Griffin, what's my take on the DSA candidate stealing her spot for the Los Angeles? I don't know. I haven't been following that race. That's right, Mumin. You want to see the Knicks win the final? Me too. Spurs are still young. They're going to win. Listen, between Harper and Wemby and that boy Castle, oh my God, man. That's the core right there. And I think Wemby's 23, Castle's 21, and Harper's 20. Are you kidding me? Shit. They gonna be around. If the Knicks wasn't in the finals, I'd be rooting for San Antonio. Yeah, Donita, his mommy and daddy for sure. Bloody Beaumont. Yeah, that's the feds though. You know, I think the state penitentiaries in them places is a little bit more primitive. You know, the feds got like a standard that's across the board, but man, down south, woo! Yeah. Oh, you was dealing with that postpartum, huh? Well, that's kind of like why I stay close to home with my wife. She's not dealing with it, but I don't. You know, I'm super helpful. Yeah, I am. What's your take on Trump calling Stephen A. low IQ? Um, Two things. Let me answer the wise mind, then I'm gonna get around to you, William. It wasn't narcissistic for Trump to go to the game. Trump is a New Yorker. Like he's a real New Yorker, bro. Like a lot of these people, man. Most of the people in New York, not most, I shouldn't say that. Like a lot of people, more than 20% of the people in New York just arrived there in the last 5 years from other places, other countries, whatever. Trump is a New Yorker, New Yorker. Grew up in Jamaica Estates, not far from where I grew up. And if he wants to come to the game, he can. Shit. He was big into sports before he was president. There's nothing narcissistic about it. Stephen A is just, you know, he's creating content. I don't know if he really meant any of that. You know, people would say he's narcissistic. It's kind of hard not to be narcissistic when you're always in the public eye. And that goes for everybody, right? So, nah, I think Trump had a right to go. What's your take on Trump calling Stephen A. low IQ? They taking jabs at each other. I don't think you have to be particularly intelligent to do what Stephen A. does. I'm not saying he's low IQ. But I think if you compare Stephen A.'s body of work to Trump's body of work, yeah, I know he's filed bankruptcy 5 or 6 times or whatever, blah, 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 blah. But here's the thing. When you interact with smart people all the time, and you have to interact with smart people to do the things Trump did, whether people want to acknowledge his intelligence or not, he's going to be pretty knowledgeable about a lot of things, a diverse set of things. Stephen A. is knowledgeable about sports. That's what he knows. I'm not saying he's not smart. I'm saying Trump is in a position where he can say Stephen A. is not smart because he's done more than Stephen A. I'm not saying that I can say Stephen A. is not smart, but I can understand how Trump would say that for sure. Down here in Florida, if he got 35, he would have to do 80%. Yeah. This is the Knicks' only chance. They had better close it out. Yeah, I think tomorrow is a must-win for them, for sure, for sure. That's what I've seen, Darnita. All the prisons in the South, whether it be Alabama, Mississippi, it don't matter. they it's kind of, I don't want to say, they're primitive and savage in them joints, like, but that's what it looks like to me. Grifter Stephen A. Smith, Queens represent. Yes, sir, Mumeen, all the time. MSG is not the home court advantage it used to be. The fans who made the Garden rowdy are making the noise outside of the Garden. Yeah. I can go with that, but here's the thing about New York, Justo. I think I saw a statistic that over 17,000 people in New York City are worth 10 million or more. There's almost 400,000. It's like 380,000 millionaires, 360 to 380, I can't remember, thousand millionaires, and the highest number of billionaires of any city in New York. And a lot of people, right, they get intimidated by that. So they'll start talking about, you're paying all this money to live in a shoebox, and there's rats, and there's this. But you got to really ask yourself before you start saying things like that, why are all those wealthy people choosing to live there and not where you live? See? And that's the end of the conversation. People with money don't want to be where you live. That's where they want to be. And that's why everything costs the way it costs. Because those people with money are driving up the price of everything. It's called supply and demand. And they are the demand is driving up the price of everything. And they want to be there for a reason. There's a lot of reasons that maybe you don't get, you don't understand, or you don't care for. But it's a very, very unique place with a lot of things to do, a lot of ways to make money. Yeah, it's a very cosmopolitan place. I thought about what you said about Mamdani voters when people on X were making comments about all the rich people in Monaco. It's like folks still don't get it. They are the haves and the have-nots. That is correct, Donita. I said, and it was a conservative estimate, that 90% or more of all people throughout history were born poor and died poor. And everyone seems to think that, that poverty is a new thing and, it's capitalism. Or before capitalism, everybody was poor. It's just, the systems change, but the reality stays the same. The cream will rise to the top no matter the system, because at the end of the day, right, you have to have power to get money. I don't care what system it's in. Even in socialism and communism, there's probably less people with money in communism, because I see it. My interpretation of communism is that it is a concentration of wealth, not a redistribution of wealth, right? So what gets people money? In my article, The Criminalization of Rap, I quoted my French novelist, Honoré de Balzac. He said, behind every fortune is a crime. So I don't care what time period, what economic system, it doesn't matter. That rule applies. It's universal. And most people are going to be poor. What does that mean, though? Does it mean you can't have a meaningful life? No. Does it mean that you can't have a happy life? No. It doesn't mean any of those things, right? Of course, there's different variations of poverty. There's poor, like you're living in the sewer somewhere, or you're in a tent city, or just poor like you're cramped up in a small apartment with one bedroom and 5 people. One bathroom and 5 people. There's different levels of poor, right? But there's a lot of latitude in that word called poverty that you could get comfortable in. I'm not saying that should be your goal, but we've lasted this long with most of the world being poor. Now, to be rich is exceptional. And I think a lot of people want to be exceptional without really understanding what that word means and what it takes. You want exceptional outcomes, but are you in fact exceptional? And no one thinks about this, right? To me, if I get to a certain age, right, you're young, you have dreams. And you have these dreams, and in these dreams, everything is possible. But as you get older, and these dreams do not, they're not realized, what do? Well, I think one thing you can do is start trying to provide a boost and a base to your kids so their dreams can be realized. Or maybe they can realize your dreams. You know how many people I know that were good basketball players? I should say. They were good basketball players, but they didn't make the pros, but their sons did. So it's good to see your son realize your dream, and so on and so forth. So maybe sometimes your role is not to be the star, but to be a supporting cast member. You see, the names, faces, and places may change, but the game remains the same. There's no small parts, just small players. And what that means is there's people who play their parts small because they think small. All they want to do is they want to be the star of the show, and everybody can't be the star. Everybody cannot be the star. And sometimes you just have to come to acceptance. You know what? I'm not gonna be the outstanding person. And that's fine. If my brother, my sister, my son, my niece, my nephew, if they have that potential, I'm going to do everything I can to get them across the line, and I will share in their success. Because maybe that's the role that was designed for me. And some people feel like, if they're not the star of the show, guess what? Something's wrong with the production. No, nothing's wrong with the production. I hate to break the news to you. If Reggie Jackson was your guy in baseball, who was your guy in basketball, football? Oh man, when it comes to football, I gotta say LT. Yeah. LT. As far as New York football. If you're talking about anywhere else, I'm a big running back, man. I don't care when I was a kid, it was Larry Zonka and Earl Campbell and O.J. Simpson. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. The sheer power of Earl Campbell and Larry Zonka and the agility of O.J. Simpson. Yeah, I used to love them. Yeah, that's what I used to love. Basketball, oh yeah, man, it was Nate Archibald, Earl the Pearl Monroe, Bernard King with 4 broke fingers, 2 on each hand, dropping 50. Are you kidding me? Bernard King was damn near to the Knicks what Reggie Jackson was to the Yankees. The only thing was he didn't take them to get a ring, but Bernard was incredible, for sure. Bernard was incredible. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to being in New York tomorrow. Absolutely, I'm looking forward to it. No, I won't be in the Garden. I'll be somewhere, one of them outdoor game viewing with the big screens. They got them all over the city. I just like to be in that. That's my city. I love New York City. I do. I love New York City. And I left there under the wrong conditions. I did. You know, I left there for my own good after wrongfully being implicated in a crime. But when I go back, I'm going back in style. Yeah. I'm going back like the prodigal son. That's what I'm going back like. Inner City Square, what's up? What's your thoughts on Floyd Mayweather squandering his fortune? You know, the same thing make you laugh, make you cry. Floyd, I think Floyd broke is different from our broke. I think he'll be okay. He just won't be the guy that he's become accustomed to being. And it was okay for him. I shouldn't say it was okay, but he could get away with what he was doing while he was fighting. But I think he spent money like he was bringing in tens of millions or hundreds of millions or whatever he was doing before. And he simply wasn't anymore. And he's owing taxes, and it's just a lot of stuff, man. I wish I could say I was surprised of the reports. But keep this in mind, Inner City. We don't know if the reports are just part of a play in of itself. You know, it could be something that he's doing that's strategic, or it could be that it just is what it is. I'm holding out hope that, you know, it's a play. He has money. Money was invested in PBC and other things. I know he got properties all over the place: Miami, California, Vegas, New York. I'm talking about personal properties. He just got to liquidate some of that shit, man. I'm so used to seeing him at NBA games. Oh, really, Floyd being that, oh wait, that just disappeared. I thought about what you said about Mamdani voters when people on X were making, oh yeah. Somebody was just saying something about Floyd being at basketball games and he's no longer there. He might be playing a role, man. That's a lot of money to burn up. But it's easy to spend money, easier to spend it than it is to make it. You know? Especially when you like to ride around with millions of dollars in cash. And I don't know, man. It's not my style, but, you know, I'm sure he knows what he's doing and why he's doing it. And if he doesn't, he's going to have to pay the price. All right, what we got? What's left? What's left for us to touch on? Anything else? We did the Knicks. We did Carmelo Anthony. We did Uncle Jimmy. We did Richard Chow. What else is going on in these news? There's always Israel and Trump and Pete Hegseth. The person that people really should be worried about is Adrian Broner. Ooh, wise mind. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah. Adrian is a very, very low IQ individual. And he doesn't have good morals or discipline. Last I heard, he got something like, he got double-digit kids. The man lived in a hotel in Cincinnati for over a year, spending hundreds of dollars a day to stay there. over a year, lived in a hotel. This is the problem with a lot of people who like to talk about poverty and social injustice and all this. They don't seem to have a concept of money and the value of it. They just give it away freely, like if you gave money to kids and they have no idea what the real value is of it because they didn't do real work to get it. So there's nothing for them to equate it to. And that's how AB is. He's just one of those guys. Darnita, I don't know if that was Yvette because she blocked me, so she doesn't talk to me. I mentioned her. There's someone who I suspect is her, pretending to be a guy from San Francisco. But I don't know. Those people are nothing. They're filth. They're like a speck of filth on the bottom of my shoe, to be honest with you. Yup, AB is always drunk. It is hard to watch. I haven't checked out the LA election controversy yet. I've been seeing all this talk about stealing elections and all that. If I'm going to keep it a buck with you, Justo, after 2020, I started feeling like every election is stolen or manipulated. Something is going on. Something is going on. I don't trust, especially with this electronic stuff now. All the tech guys are with Trump, so something's up. What's the play going on in Ukraine? So we released more money to them. But there's probably about to be an escalation against Russia because Russia is helping Iran. They sent their S-400 air defense system, and allegedly the S-400s it thwarted an Israeli attack using American stealth technology. They weren't able to go do their bombing mission in Iran because the Russians gave them the S-400s. At least that's what's being reported. And the wars are constantly escalating. And if you notice, so this is what I'm drinking today. Now, I usually drink Saratoga, right? And it's not a plug for either one of them. I don't get paid for it, right? But the reason why I'm drinking that is because I haven't been able to find Saratoga in the grocery store for over a week now. So I say that to say shortages are starting to happen. And I think they're going to intensify as the summer progresses. He's just going down a dangerous, dangerous road, and he's not even make an ounce of effort. Listen, he's a done deal. He's a done deal. Candace interviewed Putin. Of course she did. They're all in the same clique. Putin, Trump, Candace, Tucker, they're all like, it's one big poppy show. That's what it is. Of course Candace interviewed Putin. Just reaching out to Putin, yeah, and he's like, yeah, well, I'll do an interview with you. I don't think any of these people are who we think they are. I think they're all actors. I don't know. Steven Spielberg says after we see his movie, was it Disclosure or whatever, it's going to make us question our faith in God. I don't know, maybe the aliens are in charge. Who knows? They're calling Wemby the alien. Maybe for Game 7 he'll take his mask off and we'll see those big bug eyes or something. It's just tough keeping up with all this stuff that's going on. And it just doesn't seem organic, authentic, any of that. Putin and Trump are definitely in on the same joke. Xi Jinping too. I drink the sparkling water. I don't know if it's minerals in there or not. I just like it because it's real bubbly. That's right, Sadia. Central casting. That's what's going on. Everyone's in on it but us. By the way, have you guys checked out the latest News is Dead documentary on ScoonTV? Data centers and digital control. If you haven't seen it, please download the ScoonTV app. Visit ScoonTV.com. It's on the homepage, and it's free. It's free. It's really interesting what's going on with these data centers. Excuse me. What's going on with water? All of that. Oh, record high beef costs, of course. Man, since we on this food thing, I had some organic cheese that was in the fridge, and it never went bad. And this is the same thing for some organic fruits and vegetables. I don't know what's going on with the food. It's lasting a really, really long time. And it's supposedly organic and non-GMO. It's costing a lot of money, but hey, you know. Hey, we're just, what are we at, June? Tomorrow's June 10th. Yo, by August 1st, things are going to be crazy, price-wise. I don't know, man. I expect a wild fall, the election coming up. I still feel like Trump might step down. Peter Thiel is hiding something. Yes, he is. Think about this. Candace Owens is interviewing Putin, and just the other day, Candace Owens says she's not sure if Sam Altman and Elon Musk and Peter Thiel are fully human. I'm not saying that she's wrong. Sometimes these people are not pretending, but they're playing the role of opposition only to tell us the truth. Justo, yeah, I just bought a seeded watermelon. I'm getting them smaller. I'm getting them from the grocery stores rather than the guys from on the street. I haven't gotten a sweet one yet, though. Seeds are in there and everything, and they're smaller, but they're not that sweet. With the World Cup around the corner, why do you think soccer has never been as big in America as it is globally? Because America has the NFL, the NBA, the NHL. America has a lot of sports. As a kid, I remember the Cosmos. They tried to make soccer big. Pele played for the Cosmos. Giorgio Chinaglia and a couple other people. It just didn't take off over here. The tick and the screwworm infestation. Yeah, I see it's supposed to be in in the beef, killing off the cattle stock or whatever, making the meat not good to eat. I will say this, I'm not a vegan, I'm not a vegetarian, but I haven't eaten red meat since 1987. That means I missed out on all those cold cuts and deli meats, salami and bologna and all that stuff with those, was it nitrates in there? Is it nitrates, nitrites? Whatever it is, it's not good for your prostate. And, you know, I think about stuff like that, about choices that I've made without even really knowing the long-term benefits. And I'm just glad that I did them. Yeah. I'm absolutely glad that I did it. Because people who consumed a lot of those things, they have all kinds of urological problems, and they certainly wouldn't be having kids at 61. Yeah. You gotta really take care of yourself, and that's why I do the fasting, give my body time to flush out whatever that's going in there that I'm not aware of. The fasting and the sauna, by the way. Yeah. Got to get them toxins out. Or you go for game meat, elk, ostrich, antelope. Okay. Yeah, I don't eat any. You know, I do eat eggs, though. And what I learned about eggs is you got to get the organic pasture raised, not cage free. Organic is the feed that they give the eggs, the hens. And pasture raised means they're out walking around. Cage free doesn't really mean a whole hell of a lot. It's better than them being, you know, in that little cage, just making eggs all day and they're under stress. But you got to get the pasture raised organic eggs. Yeah, that's what you got to get. And they're like almost $10 a dozen. Oh, the watermelon exploded in your kitchen? It was old. That's why it did that. It was old. When they get old, the gas inside starts expanding and it cracks it, yeah. I was getting some good ones last year in the hood. There's an old timer, I think he's from down south somewhere, and pulls up with his truck, his old truck, and he sells his watermelons like $21. And I used to go over there and get them, but it's kind of far from where I live. It's out of the way, not just far, but like when I leave my office is in the hood, but to go get the watermelons, I got to go to the right. And to go home, I go to the left. And when I leave the office, man, I'm usually thinking about home and nothing else. The best watermelon, eggs, and beef. Yeah, going directly to the farms. That's a good look, Glasgow, for sure. There's I don't know if they're Mennonite or Amish or whatever, but I went over there last year to get a watermelon, and it was pretty good. And they got a lot of other stuff that's like natural over there, you know? Yeah. I don't eat as much. Oh, yeah, the duck and goose egg. Justo, you doing your thing, man. That's all right. That's all right, man. I like to hear that, you know? Yeah, the duck and goose eggs. Them joints are big, too. I got to do my research on them. They're probably better than chicken eggs at this point because chicken eggs are so commercial. And most people don't know that the nutrition is actually in the yolk. Sheep and bison milk. Oh, man, I got to try out. You're going to have me testing stuff out because I'm always open to testing out things to increase the way my body operates. Do you think Whitlock executed should he haven't even done a show? My biggest worry was how Whitlock was going to handle this. This is a situation that I think you know, you accused me earlier of dumping on Whitlock, and I don't feel that I was. I just feel like maybe Uncle Jim didn't have a chance to give his side of the story, and that was kind of unfair to him, you know. But other than that, Whitlock was just being Whitlock, man. I watched the skit with Uncle Jim playing Mr. Biggs and Shamika, whatever, and you know, knowing what happened to him and he's no longer here, I kind of appreciated that skit more than I would have normally. Ultimately, I don't think it was bad, but just things that Whitlock can't help. You know, I think it would have been good just to talk about Uncle Jim in a good way, not to talk about him in a way to explain what happened. That could have been done another time, but not today. And also, there's no need to bring up Derek Chauvin. No, I didn't see the whole thing, but the little bit that I saw, those were the only things that I felt like wasn't needed. I don't think it was bad altogether because overall, Whitlock said some good things about Jim. I just think some things could have been left out. But like he said, he did that 30, 40 minutes after finding out about what happened. So there wasn't really a lot of preparation into laying it out. So I will say that. See, I'm trying to be fair. Like, I don't hate Whitlock. I don't have anything against him. Like I said, I understand him. I understand why he does what he do. He just picked his path, and that's that. And it's no different than any of the rest of them. It's just a side that he's chosen, but they all play the same game. So I ain't going to fault him for that. Oh, thank you, Donita. Sheep milk is seasonal. I'm going to look into it, Justo. I want to try it. I definitely want to try it for sure. I wonder if they make ice cream out of it. I'm sure somebody does. Got to go talk to one of them, Amish or Mennonites or something. Yeah. But anyway, y'all, listen, it was good talking to y'all. I enjoyed it. I'm going to do my homework on this LA race. Download the ScoonTV app. Good news, I spoke with my wife, and we're about to start back doing Scoon's Worlds. We took a hiatus because of, the pregnancy, the birth, but she's ready to start easing it back in, and I think we're going to do some content this week. I appreciate the patience from all of you guys that support it nonetheless, and man, all I can say is I'm going to keep doing it. This is why I do this live stream. I don't really care about millions of views or any of that. I care about the people who care about me, and that's good. Like Jay-Z said, the homie said, what? There ain't many of us. I said, less is more, there's plenty of us.